Is Godzilla vs. Kong king of the monster movies? Hey, it's me AP, and welcome to the Saturday movie show, everyone. And that is the question for today's show. Is it the best of the monster movies? Is it the best of the MonsterVerse movies? And look, Godzilla vs. Kong came out this week, and I have now watched it, and today's show is going to be discussing all about that. But a pre-warning to watching any point forward in today's show, it's going to be heavily dosed in spoilers. So if you've not watched the movie yet, turn the video off right now, go and watch the movie, come back to the video later on if you want to, check it out then. But we are going to be discussing the movie in full and talking about spoilers within the movie, so I don't want to spoil it for anyone out there. So if you haven't watched it, this is your last spoiler warning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoilers for Godzilla vs. Kong ahead from this point. But first of all, it's Saturday, ladies and gents. It is early on this morning. I'm getting up really early to do the podcast early because I've got a few things to do later on today. So I've had my morning coffee and I'm all set for the day. I'm all showered. This is an early shower for me. Early shower, early podcast. We'll get this out later on today. But yeah, today it is not as sunny as it was in the past few days. When I've been filming videos the past couple of days in here, it's been really light, and I've been blessed with really good natural light, as well as the light I've got in the room here. But it is a very dark morning. Maybe it'll get a bit brighter here in the UK later on, but yeah, very, very dark. But it's been a really nice week for the weather this week. Really nice week, and it's really nice to hear that across the world people have been able to go and watch Godzilla. Here in the UK, we can't go and see the movies at the moment. Our cinemas are still shut until next month, as of now. But here in America and a lot of other places around the world, a lot of people have been going to see Godzilla vs. Kong at the cinema, and you know, there's obviously safety precautions in there, but people who enjoy going to the cinema, it's great for them. Do you know what I mean? I'm kudos if you enjoy going to the cinema. That's awesome. If you've been able to go to the cinema to see this movie this week, it's great. But yeah, what a movie! So let's get into the main story, ladies and gents, on the Saturday movie show today. Is Godzilla vs. Kong the king of the monster movies, the king of the MonsterVerse? What did I think of the movie? Let's talk about the plot. So to sum it up, basically, the plot, it starts off with Kong on Skull Island, an older Kong from the Skull Island movie. But now Skull Island has become a monarch facility, and it's got like this big dome around it, this big dome where he can't get out. He's locked in, and they're watching him, they're observing him. And there's a young girl in there as well. I've got the cast list written down because I really enjoyed this cast. I really enjoyed the human cast and the monsters, but the human cast in this movie were really fun. I really enjoyed it, but I will forget a lot of the names. So I've got them all on my phone here, the cast list. So it starts off with, we've got this young girl who goes by the name of, what's her name? Gia. She is a deaf girl, and her family were original settlers. They lived on Skull Island, but they were killed. But Kong took this young girl in who is deaf, and sort of like took her on as his daughter, his pet, if you like, because obviously we're all pets to these mammoths like Kong and Godzilla, but they have a connection, a real good connection. And she can, it later turns out in the movie that she's been doing sign language with Kong, and he can do sign, which is awesome. But then, so she's an orphan child, this character Gia, and then she is sort of mothered by this scientist called Rebecca Hall's character, Dr. Eileen Andrews, and she works in Monarch, and she is in this facility, this Skull Island dome Monarch facility. So they're observing Kong. He's just living on the island, but they're sort of saying he's getting too big. He wants to get out, and he throws up this big stick into the ceiling, to the sky. And it cracks like the ceiling, and you can see like the lights. It's sort of like kind of like what's a Jim Carrey movie called? What's the one where it's all about? He's like, I can't think of it now. My brain's just, it's too early in the morning. Maybe it'll come to me later on. Where he's getting observed with cameras and he doesn't realize he's on a reality show. It feels like that sort of world. I can't remember the movie now. But anyway, it starts off here with Kong, and then we go to our evil conspirators of the movie, the Hydra of the MonsterVerse, Apex Cybernetics. So we're introduced to this company, Apex, and basically it starts off where we got this character called Bernie, who is a very fun character. He's a podcaster on this like monster theory website. He puts all monster theories out there. And I really like that. I like that concept of the like this monster podcast. And at the start of the movie, it acts as like the narration for the movie somewhat as well, which is cool. But I like that because I'm a fan of podcasts, and I do this podcast as well. I related to that. It was fun to watch, and he's a very fun character, Bernie. So he is the character who is very much assembles with Millie Bobby Brown's character as well in this. And the kid from Deadpool 2, he's in this as well. I didn't know. And they are like three of our main protagonists, and then we got another group of protagonists as well within this movie, and they don't really cross between the movie really. So we got two teams of heroes within this movie. Rebecca Hall, the little kid, and Alexander Skarsgård's character, the Doctor. Dr. Lind, is it? Dr. Lind, let me get this again. I'm not going to be looking at names, I'm just going to say that whatever comes to my head. Dr. Lind, anyway. They're the other group of characters. So it starts off then with Apex, where they're doing research, all evil research, It's set up, and then Godzilla attacks the facility, and it sort of sets up at the start of the movie that Godzilla is no longer the savior, and this Apex guy, the leader of Apex, is like, we need to do something about this. And he goes to then Dr. Lind, who is a character who used to work for Monarchy, no longer works for them. His brother was killed because they were doing an experiment trying to go into something called the Hollow Earth. Now, this is all fresh ground to me. I don't know whether this is something that has been told in previous Godzilla movies or King Kong movies or any type of monster movies. I've never heard of this idea of the Hollow Earth, and again, maybe it's something that has been told before, maybe it's something fresh, I don't know. So the Hollow Earth, let me explain it. So the concept, it's a theory that is thought out in this book by Dr. Lind, who's sort of like this doctor now who's just living in a basement somewhere. He's just sitting there doing nothing. He's a bit of a what can I say? He's not got anything going on in his life really. So then this Apex, the leader of Apex, goes to his house and says, I believe in like you. And then they decide they're going to go and do the Hollow Earth expedition. The Hollow Earth is basically, they believe there's a power source within the Hollow Earth, and then they get readings, and the story goes on that they get this craft that can go into the ground. So it's like there's an Earth in the middle of the Earth, which is crazy. Like there's this location within the middle of the Earth. So, but they need Godzilla. They need one of the Titans to take them through, to show them the way to the power source within this Hollow Earth. So basically, they then take Kong, and Alexander Skarsgård's character, Dr. Lind, convinces Rebecca Hall's character to bring out Kong and to take him to this new place. They take their child along the way as well, and they go. What I like this, first of all, here, I know this is a science fiction movie. It's Godzilla versus Kong. It's monsters. I get it's science fiction. But for me, it's not like sci-fi. I don't know if you understand what I mean by that. It feels like the other movies were monster movies. But this one really felt like a sci-fi movie, which I really enjoyed. I enjoyed the rest of the movies, but I enjoyed this one even more so with little concepts like this, with the sci-fi element. So it's like they're going in, they got like these super cool like spaceship vehicles, and they're going underground into this mysterious tunnel in the Antarctica to get to the Hollow Earth. So they're trying to get to Earth's core, and they go through this like cosmic. They have to like go at like the speed of light, or even quicker than the speed of light, to get in, and it's just bizarre. It's really cool, and you get these cosmic sci-fi elements, and you go in, and then they go into this prehistoric. They go through this like this wormhole with Kong, and then they land in this prehistoric land where there's like dinosaurs. All these strange monsters, and Kong is there. Then he's leading the way, and he leads them to this big cave. Then in this prehistoric land, and big cave has this big throne where Kong sits on. He has this big sword as well. And then there's a power source around there. They get this power source, and let me just scoot back a bit as well. Before all this, Godzilla attacks the Apex facility, and as I said this, haven't I? So he's set up as like the villain of this story so far. And even before, I'm going to get to the fight scene, so let me just tell the basic concept. But anyway, this then results in, they get the power source. Apex are the villains of the piece, because they are making a Mecha Godzilla. So we're introduced to the main villain, Mecha Godzilla, or Robo Godzilla. That is named briefly in the story, but yeah, Mecha Godzilla. I've seen stuff online about the images and stuff, and people like seeing the images of Mecha Godzilla. And you know, my thing with Mecha Godzilla is, I've seen, again, I'm not like well versed. I'm not all up on the old Godzilla movies. I've seen clips and stuff on YouTube, but I really like the original, like sort of original designs for Mecha Godzilla, where he looked like the Dragon Zord out of Power Rangers. And so basically, it's an okay design. I think it could have been maybe a bit bulkier. That was my only. I felt it was okay, but it could have been just a bit bulkier, the design of Mecha Godzilla. It just felt like he was maybe just lacking a bit in size. But I enjoyed it. It wasn't like made me go, oh, this is a bit naff. But basically, they use this power source to charge the power of Mecha Godzilla, but then it's an untested power source from this prehistoric hollow earth place. And then they lose control of Mecha Godzilla. He goes rogue, kills everyone at Apex, and then he attacks Kong and Godzilla. This is just after they've had a battle, and we see the true winner of the battle. And they did promise, Adam Wingard promised us, the director, that there would be one winner of the battle between Godzilla and Kong, and the winner was Godzilla. He is the king of the monsters, and then they end up teaming up, and it's Godzilla versus Kong versus Mecha Godzilla. They destroy him in the end. It's a cool battle. And then that's the end of the movie. And it's look, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was a brilliant movie. For me, it was like the Marvel of multiverse, the Marvel of MonsterVerse movies. It had something the other movies didn't have. It had good human characters, and they recycled some of the human characters from the Godzilla 2 movie, Godzilla King of Monsters, and they added new ones in, like Bernie, Alexander Skarsgård, the child, Rebecca Hall's character. But they added, I felt like they expanded on the characters and made them a bit more likable and relatable and more engaging as well with the characters. You didn't feel like they were just there and just like standing in the background. I felt like they had a story to tell within the story as well, and they had backgrounds like Dr. Lin, like it was the character. His brother had died in trying to get to the Hollow Earth, and there was more backstory, and you felt like you knew the character more. It felt like there was more of a world built in this story with the characters, and with the Skull Island characters as well, with Rebecca Hall and the child Gia. It felt there was more of a connection to the monsters as well, which I liked. One character I didn't feel like really expanded was Millie Bobby Brown's character. I feel like her character was very similar to the character in Godzilla 2. She expanded a bit more, and I think she come out of shell a bit, being placed with Bernie and the kid out of Deadpool 2. So it expanded her somewhat more. Kyle Chandler's character wasn't really in it that much, but it recycled them and it made them better. It did make them better, and it wasn't a diss on Millie Bobby Brown character. I think she's a good actress. I just feel like other characters added more to this story, but they were more engaging, all the characters. I felt there was a lot more engagement with the characters within this movie, with the point of view characters, and I really enjoyed it for that. I felt I was more into the movie because of that. But yeah, it is the Marvel of MonsterVerse movies. It was more interactive, it was more engaging, it was more fun as well. There was a lot of humour in this, but it wasn't like over the top hokey humour. It was very fun to watch. And there was moments where I was laughing. There's two moments I want to mention that I think were brilliant, and I felt like there was a nod. Right, first of all, there was with Bernie's character. He's going in one of the Apex facilities when they're trying to find like they end up finding Mecha Godzilla, and he goes up this ladder and opens this like hatch, and he's got like this like flip phone, and he's like out taking pictures, and he's saying, "I'm gonna go viral with these." I just started laughing. I thought it was funny. I know it's not as it made me laugh. It made me laugh. But the other moment I really enjoyed. Right, I'm a big Lethal Weapon fan, and big fan of like Murtaugh and Riggs. I felt like there was a load of Lethal Weapon stuff in this. First of all, with Kong, when he's getting beat up by Godzilla, and he's just like shuffling, and he's like, oh, he looks old. I just imagine like Murtaugh saying, "I'm too old for this." I just felt like that moment where he was going to say something like that, Kong, but obviously he doesn't talk. The other moment was, there was like a nod in my mind to Lethal Weapon, is when Kong is getting off, after he's had a battle with Godzilla, he gets up and his shoulder is obviously dropped back, like it's like dislocated. And if you've watched Lethal Weapon, you know the character, Mel Gibson character Riggs, he has this thing where his shoulder just pops out and he knocks it in while just like smacking it against a wall every time. And this happens a lot in the movies. And in that movie, Kong does the exact same thing. So he's like that with his shoulder, and then he just slams his shoulder into a building and knocks it back into position. I felt there was like some slight nods to Lethal Weapon there. I'm thinking that Adam Wingard, the director of this movie, is a Lethal Weapon fan. I want to get to the bottom of this. Is Adam Wingard a Lethal Weapon fan? But Adam Wingard done a great job of this movie. Really enjoyed it. The fight scenes were great. The only ones that I didn't really enjoy was the one in Hong Kong between Godzilla and Kong. The second battle with it. The only reason why I didn't like it is the nighttime scenes. I felt like there was more daylight battle scenes in this. The big battle at the end with Godzilla, Mecha Godzilla, and Kong in the daylight. The ocean battle was in the daylight. Them scenes were brilliant. I really I felt like it added more dynamic to the battles, and you got more into it. I feel like the nighttime battles are too Pacific Rim, and I've never really enjoyed battles at night. I prefer seeing the visuals in the daylight. I think it's more interesting. So I really enjoyed that. As I said, it is a great movie. I really enjoyed it, and it came out in the UK on April 1st over here, a few days earlier on HBO Max in America, and then it's obviously released across the world on video-on-demand services as well. We had it on a few different video-on-demand services here. Great movie. Great monster movie. I really enjoyed it, and I would highly recommend anyone who's not seen it to watch it, because it is such a fun monster movie. So, the future of the MonsterVerse. Would I like to see a sequel to Godzilla vs. Kong? And do I think there is a sequel in there? So we see the ending that, Mechagodzilla is destroyed, and Kong puts down his sword to Godzilla. He then sort of like takes him in. It's shown here that Godzilla is the king, and I think there's a mutual now respect between both. As they fought off Mechagodzilla and they work together as a team. But I think Kong now acknowledges that Godzilla is the king here, and he is not the alpha in all of this. But where would a sequel go? And I've been looking on like Wikipedia and stuff and a few news websites to see if there's any news of a potential sequel. I know the movie has done really well so far internationally with the box office, which is great news. I know it's been doing really good. I think it's made about... it's like 120 million I've read so far. I may be wrong, but internationally this is. But it sounds like what I'm hearing, it's doing really well so far. But would a sequel work? What would it be? Would I like to see it? First off, I'm enjoying these stories from the MonsterVerse now. I'm really enjoying. I didn't like the initial first Godzilla movie. Wasn't for me. Every movie since I've enjoyed. I would like to see a sequel if it done the story better than this. If it was a worthy story, really. What I could see happening is, it feels like Apex now are like the Hydra of the MonsterVerse. They are this big evil organization that will continue on, and there'll always be some evil scientist, evil genius creating some new mecha monster. What I would see a future one happening, and the storyline would be maybe, I'm not well up to date with the old monster movies, so I'm sure there's probably has been more like mecha monsters. I think a story where you could have like these mecha monsters, like an army of mecha monsters versus an army of the Titans led by Godzilla, like Godzilla, Kong, a few more of them. I think that would be really cool, just like an all-out battle. So we've had in this battle just like 3 monsters battling, but then we could have like Mecha Ghidorah maybe, a few of the other ones that I can't name. But I feel like if the story is going to go forward, maybe that's where you got to go. You've just got to go full on like Infinity War, all-out monster warfare. That would be my suggestion anyway. I'm sure there's definitely some discussions going ahead for stories if the movie does really, really well. I suppose it just all depends on the box office, how good it does. We've been blessed with having 4 of these movies so far, which is awesome. And if this is the end, I feel like it's a good enough ending. I feel like there's potential for a sequel, but if it ends here, I wouldn't be disappointed because I feel like there's like an end to the story. Really, we've had the battle between them, and that's it. There's a show of respect, and it feels like they took on the final boss, Mecha Godzilla here. So maybe I feel like it's good in the way they've done this movie. They've set it as like a final movie, but they've also set it as where there could be more to tell in this story of the MonsterVerse. So I would very much like to see a sequel if it was the right story and if it was a worthy story. I don't want them to just put like a Godzilla versus Kong 2 and it's just exactly the same as this movie. I think it needs to add upon what this movie has had. And if they can do that, sure, I would really be happy to see a sequel to that. Anyway, let's get on to other things now. What have I been watching this week? This week, I've watched Falcon and Winter Soldier. So spoilers ahead for the latest episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoilers ahead if you've not seen it. But we see in this episode the Falcon and Winter Soldier break Baron Zemo out of the prison cell he's in, and which is cool. Now we see Zemo a lot more added to his character. It's like sort of like fleshed out his character more, retconned his character, given more origin. He reveals he's a baron. He's super rich, and then we see the mask, the original comic book design mask, which is really good to see. I really enjoyed that. I really liked Zemo's character a lot more than when he was in the movie. It was in Age of Ultron. I enjoyed his character a lot more than in this one, which is good. And look, he added a lot to this story, and he is very much. You don't know whether he's a good guy or a bad guy. It feels like he could turn at any point, but he's in this story now. But then we see at the end of the story, we see a Wakandan. I was a bit confused because I wasn't totally aware of who this character is. From what I gather, is this the king's wife, the king who was killed by Zemo, his wife? So it's like the queen of Wakanda. I wasn't completely sure because I've only seen Black Panther once, and I've only seen Age of Ultron about once or twice. So I've not seen. I think it was Age of Ultron. I always get confused with that, or it's Winter Soldier. So I wasn't all up to date. But at the end of it, Winter Soldier meets up with this lady from Wakanda, who I believe is the Queen of Wakanda. I may be wrong. If I'm wrong, put it in the comments below. But it was a good episode. I enjoyed it. It was more of the same, more good stuff. A very fun, action-orientated episode. And yeah, it was good. I'm enjoying this series. It's really fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what the overarching finale will be. I know we got like the Flag Smashers, but I feel like there's a lot more to this story. But it was a good episode again. I really enjoyed it. Another one I've been watching this week. I mentioned it on a new podcast I was doing the other day, but Crisis on Infinite Earths. I finally got the DVD. I've not really watched The Arrow and Flash for the past couple of seasons, but I got into this and I've really enjoyed it. I've watched like 2 or 3 episodes so far, and it's really fun. It's really good. Big come together team up show, and it's fantastic what they can do for TV shows now. It's just mesmerizing to see. But I really enjoyed that Crisis, and it was really fun. So that is what I've been watching this week. And let's see, housekeeping for this week. Let's get the housekeeping out of the way. So last week we had no Saturday movie show. We had the Saturday movie quiz with a quiz on Masters of the Universe, and prior to that I'd done the movies for Not Noah's episode on Masters of the Universe. I really enjoyed that quiz, and I will definitely be doing more of them quizzes on every 3rd month now, and it was very enjoyable. I also started on Patreon this week, a new podcast. If you want to join Patreon, it's like a $1 to get in there. It's just extra material. If you're enjoying what you're seeing here, it's there for you if you want to watch it. So that's why I do the Patreon stuff. So I do a podcast every month, an exclusive Patreon podcast, but I put a preview up on YouTube this week, and the podcast is called The Coffee and Movie Broadcast. The Coffee and Movie Broadcast. And this week I just talk about movies, coffee, just a fun little podcast for me to do, and I've really found it enjoyable to do. And if you want to check out the preview, it's on YouTube now if you've not already seen it. But it was very, very just a chilled out. I'm just chilling out, having some coffee, chilling out, and talking about movies as well. So it's cool. So anyway, that is the show for today. And look, if you enjoyed this video today, please do give it a like and check out the rest of my movie-related content as well. And let me know what your thoughts are on Godzilla versus Kong. Did you enjoy the movie? What did you think? What are your initial thoughts? How do you feel? Would you like to see a sequel to this movie? And if you had a sequel to this movie, what monsters would you like to be introduced into a movie? Do you think it's worthy of having a sequel to this movie? Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you next Saturday.